Hi, I'm Dr. Melva, your board-certified radiation oncologist and serial entrepreneur and investor. Welcome to the 1% Code podcast. I help top income earners create multiple streams of income to support the career they love or the one they want to love again. Learn more on the 1% Code podcast. Well, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the 1% Code podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Melva, and I am so excited that you are here. I am a board-certified radiation oncologist, serial entrepreneur, and investor, and I help top income earners create multiple streams of income so that they can turn their job into a hobby and start to love that career again. All right. How are y'all doing today as you're listening? If you're on the drive into work, if you're doing laundry, dropping the kids off, if you're buying more masks for this COVID pandemic that is coming back to us in August, go away, COVID. Hello. I am so glad that you decided to listen to this episode today. So this is a special one for you. And I wanted to break up the series. I hope you've enjoyed the previous podcast. I've had excellent hosts on. I've been able to share some of the podcasts that I've been on. Go out and listen to those other podcasts, support their shows. The speakers that we've had on the show so far, go out and follow them on all the social media channels. Expand your network with these dynamic entrepreneurs. So I wanted to break up this series of other stories to share something that recently happened in my life personally. So this episode is called Closing a Six-Figure Chapter. I Quit. All right. So I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, okay, she's a physician and she's no longer a physician. No. It's not my primary career. That's a multiple six-figure set of chapters. It's an entire book over multiple, almost, it feels like over a decade at this point, actually. So no, I'm still employed, which is, even more my reason for having the 1% Code podcast, because I love working with professionals and career-driven men and women who prioritize their career, but also see that it's possible to add in additional, often passive income streams or multiple income streams to their wealth portfolio. So yes, I'm still employed as of the time of this recording, although August 16th, 2021, I'll be celebrating 5 years in my current career location, which for me is a huge milestone. And I can go into that in another episode, but I previously was at other locations for a much shorter time period, because as I have been creating a life by design, and I hope that you are on the same track, every situation wasn't a fit for me. And I think it says a lot that I've been in the same place for 5 years. I got uncomfortable after about 2 years, and, we did a stretch and I was able to continue and stay there in that community to serve. But I hope that you're designing a life of design. I hope that you are building a life of design. So I quit, closing a six-figure chapter. All right. So let's take you back in my personal history. Oh my goodness. After I finished residency in radiation oncology, I moved to the state of Virginia. I was close to family. I trained in Southern California and Orange, California. I lived in Long Beach, California. My first two girls were born in Long Beach, California, in the LBC. And we moved back to Virginia. It was a very happy time. But I'll just tell you, my first job out of residency wasn't what I thought it would be. And the feeling of being in a place, not being valued, being the junior on the ladder, work locations, distance to drive, just everything you can imagine. It wasn't what I wanted ultimately. And just to wrap it up and fast forward, I left that job 36 weeks pregnant, went to an entirely new state. And that's when I started my career in rural medicine, which gave me more opportunity to have flexibility, to be a mother, to be an entrepreneur, and an oncologist at the same time. So that feeling that I had when I made the decision to leave that first job of residency was the same feeling that I started to get with this additional six-figure chapter that I'd had for the last 18 months. And before I go into more details about what happened and the choices I made, I want to ask you about your life. Have you noticed the importance of timing in your life? Have you begun to be in a phase of your career where maybe you're in the crisis career, maybe you're in the change part? Have you really been able to see the seasons of your life, the seasons of your career as you build your wealth portfolio? And the reason I ask that is that when I look back and I talk a lot about journaling, I hope that you're journaling. I just did an episode on fear in the 1% Code Collective. That's on Facebook. You can check us out there. The Fear of Uncertainty in Business was the episode. And in that episode, I talked about, the power of journaling, right? So when you journal, you write down facts. So you're not based in theory and you're not exaggerating or playing the victim. You journal and you see what's happening. So when you journal, it's easier to go back and see the seasons in your life. So the season that I've been in my life, I'd say in the last 5 years, has been one of more involvement with the kids as my children are getting older and there are more activities. This was before COVID, obviously, but there were more activities. It was establishing myself as a rural healthcare physician and what came along with that. It was understanding flexibility in the job and how we could add additional entrepreneurial income streams, some that are passive, some that were, took a little bit more effort. And one of those that I added in this season of my life was medical chart utilization. And I won't mention the company out of respect. But before I continue, I have nothing but gratitude for this company, the 18 months that I was there. I ended on a very good note, but I'm detailing this for you to help you understand the reasons behind it. And a lot of times I talk about anchoring your additional income streams in your beliefs, anchoring in a mission and vision that you can stand behind. Because if you don't have that anchor, it's hard to continue doing more than one thing. Okay. So hey there, it's Dr. Melva, and I really hope that you're enjoying the show. I just wanted to take a quick break to give you a personal invitation to the 1% Code Masterclass. It starts on August 23rd. I'm super excited to be hosting this 2-day event where we will talk everything the 1% code, and I will teach you how to take your 6-figure income and leverage that into a 7-figure net worth. We'll talk about how to manage risk, career constraints, time constraints, how to turn your job into a hobby, and so much more. I hope that you choose to join me. You can do so by going to the registration page at doctormelva.com/masterclass. Again, that's doctormelva.com, doctor spelled out, DOCTOR/masterclass. I hope to see you there. Okay, let's get back to this episode. Again, I have so much gratitude for this opportunity. I'm very grateful that I had 18 months there. I'm grateful for the 6-figure chapter, and I'm also grateful that now my time is free because this was obviously not a passive income stream. This was, you work for the hours, you get paid, it came with benefits. The benefits of that is that I was able to work from home. So I was around my kids. Also, those of you working from home during this pandemic listening, you know that can be difficult because your kids and family may not understand that you're actually working, right? So let me get into what one of my mentors said. And they said, Dr. Melva, every idea is not a good idea. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Because as a creative, I've had a lot of ideas and I've also executed a lot of ideas. And I would add that to say that every income opportunity that you're looking at while you're deciding to add additional streams of income may not be a good idea forever. And that was the case for me. For 18 months, it worked out. Part of that was during the pandemic. I was able to have flexibility in the hours that I worked outside of the children's activities, before and after, events or games at the time when we were having games. And then things changed with the company. And I'll never forget, I got an email. Actually, I didn't even get an email. I got a calendar invite for training with no email, no explanation. And they said that I was going to be training to switch into another department. And it was starting to feel like the job I had that I left immediately after residency, because at this point in time in 2021, I understand my value. I'm comfortable and I know my worth, and I'm open to possibility. So when you are in that space, You have expectations of communications. You have professionalism and standards that you live by. I've never been in an environment where there was no communication when a major change was happening, whether it was a business need or not. So at that point, it started to, conflict with the personal goals and integrity that I had as a physician working in an additional job. So, of course, there were some conversations, and I was told that it was a business need. It wasn't intentional, that the training schedule was there before I got an email or any communication. And then as I, broached the conversation, or, I approached the conversation, I asked the question, is this a business need where I have a choice? Or is this a business need and the decision has been made that either I shift over into this role or I resign? And the answer was astounding that yeah, this was the direction. I either switched into this role or I was more than welcome to resign. So what I had done in the company previous, it didn't matter. How many of you have been in that situation in your career? I would love to hear that. Reach out to me on social media or email me at support@doctormelva.com and share your story with me. Join the 1% Code Collective. Post about it. I would love to hear your feedback on this because that really hasn't happened to me a lot. I'm going to be honest because I've been in a position where my role is very clear at the beginning and there's not too many changes. And I know other people who are in high income earning positions, they're probably departmental changes. This probably comes up more often as the business needs change. But as a physician, I'm a radiation oncologist. So when I'm hired in a physician role, typically I'm a radiation oncologist and it's not a super huge change. So that was new for me. I'm just admitting that. And so I went in, did some of the training, and then it got to a point that I wanted to reduce the hours because we had some other projects we were working on, some other income streams came in to offset what we were doing with this six-figure chapter. And they delayed the change for me to have the reduction in hours. And it was, again, no explanation. It was okay, this is what we talked about, the reduction in hours, and it's going to go in effect this date, which was completely different than what we talked about. So you have to pay attention, right? I challenge you to pay attention to when things are out of alignment. I want you to be aware of when people are following their own agenda and they don't have your best interest at heart. This can happen when you're creating additional income streams, you're hiring contractors, subcontractors. This can happen in your career when you're up for a promotion. This can happen if you, decide to become a franchise owner, real estate investor, whatever it is that you're doing as you create this wealth portfolio. But you have to be aware and alert and pay attention when things are almost intentionally being done that don't align with what it is that you want, which is why you have to have vision, which is why you have to have goals, which is why you have to set intentions for everything that you do. Okay. So what did I do? Well, I didn't quit immediately, right? So I gave it some time. I prayed over it. I thought about it. But the day that I quit, it was a Friday because this was an at-will position. So I did everything in alignment. Again, I left on good terms. The supervisor asked me, she said she went over everything great I did. For 18 months, you've had high scores. You have to, in medical chart utilization, you have to do quarterly, basically documentation of your competency. And I always passed, always had high scores. She said I did great on the calls. There were never any problems for 18 months. And she was just going through this great list of accolades of what I've done. And I was sitting there going, right. So the feedback that I've gotten and the feedback that I got is that I wasn't participating. And I was going, wait a second. If anyone knows me, or even if you've listened to my live or you've listened to one single podcast episode, I will ask questions. As a matter of fact, I ask questions to the point of exhaustion sometimes. And I have to stop myself okay. Or if you've done a consult with me or coach with me, you're gonna get more benefit from the questions that I ask you about the situation you're in than anything else before we even start working together. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying that's my personality. That's my gift, is to be able to look at a situation and ask the right questions to move you forward. Okay. So to get that I wasn't participating, it was out of integrity for me. I'm gonna be honest with you. It was out of integrity. It was those red flashing lights that just went up to me and it said, hey, look, this is what happened before. And, I had that kind of mantra that said, I am worth more than this. I add more value. This is not in alignment. Someone is sitting here saying, someone who's, in charge is saying all of these great things I did, but in the same time, they're saying things that aren't true. And when that happens to you, it's almost a way to kind of push you out, right? And at the same time, she's like, well, all these great things, I'm sure this is just a bump in the road. Do you want to give this some thought? No, I don't. I don't want to give this thought. You know why? Because I have experience, because I have a network, because I realize that the business need is more important than my need. And what I didn't say, and what I'm going to tell you, is that if you're an entrepreneur or you're a career / entrepreneurish, that entrepreneur mind will pull you and push you in these times. And as much as I would have wanted to continue that 6-figure chapter, at that point, it was over. And it's okay to let things end. Okay, that probably freed somebody today, but I just want you to know that it is okay to stand in the face of fear, to have the uncertainty of the unknown of what happens when you close a chapter, especially a 6-figure chapter, because when you are clear on your vision, when you're clear on your intention, when you have decided to have courage, to stand by your integrity, to stay in alignment with that vision and mission, things are going to work out. And it's not going to be a difficult decision. It'll be scary, yes. But guess what will happen? So for me, since that time, I didn't, belabor it. I think I posted, if you follow my social media, my daughter, it was, of course, like raining cats and dogs. And we packed up all of the equipment. We got the labels. We sent them back. I was kind of laughing. I got a parting gift. It was, a large cardboard box, pretty beaten up with some FedEx labels. and some bubble wrap. Like I got the bubble wrap. Like, thank you for your service, Dr. Pinn-Bingham. But no, in all seriousness, it was a very good break and it was needed. And honestly, it probably needed to happen sooner. Because just a lot of things had changed since I had taken that position 18 months ago. So what's my point here? My point is that everything doesn't last forever. It can be scary. There can be a lot of fear, but sometimes there's a chapter in your life that is waiting for its finale. It is waiting for you to write the conclusion. It is waiting for an excellent ending. The ending may hurt you. It may be painful. It may be scary for people in your life, but it's okay. It's okay. Like, allow it to be okay. As top income earners, we have a lot of successes and they're failures. And just because you close a chapter, just because maybe it's the first time in your life and maybe it won't be the last, you quit, it doesn't mean that you're a failure. And I want to release those of you today who are maybe sitting in the same position that I was a couple weeks ago. And I want to impart courage to you. And I just want to give you hope that it's okay. And I also want to make sure that you're registered for the upcoming masterclass, because we will talk about why having multiple income streams allow you to change your course and give you options so that you can quit, because it's a lot harder if you're quitting the only 6-figure chapter you have. Now, I know there are those of you who've done that. I'm not one of those at this point. But things that are uncomfortable, things that you need mentorship or networking, those are going to happen in your life. I want you to continue to create a life by design. And that's it. So let me know what you thought about this episode. Have you quit a job? Have you closed a 6-figure chapter? Have you been overwhelmed and inundated with fear? Have you worked on anchoring in your beliefs? Has your entrepreneur mind pulled you in directions and you created fabulous things? I cannot wait to hear about those, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks again for joining. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the 1% Code podcast, please share with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating, and I would love your 5-star review. To catch all the latest from me, you can follow me on all social media channels at Dr. spelled out, DoctorMelva, at Dr. Melva. And I want to make sure that you and anyone else you know that would benefit from the 1% Code podcast is a member of my private community on Facebook, the 1% Code Collective. I would love for you to join me there. Link in the bio. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.